Now, sanctions busting is as old as the hills, but North Korea has devoted considerable intelligence and expertise to it. A Washington Post report has documented how the North goes about selling Cold War-era arms to customers on practically every continent and even to insurgents.
Egypt and the United States have been allies for a long time, and Washington rolled out the red carpet when the Egyptian president came visiting last month.
It is a great honor to have with us today President El-Sisi of Egypt. We have worked long and hard, and we are making a lot of progress on a lot of different fronts, and we appreciate everything that you've done. Thank you very much. And I know you appreciate everything that we've done.
أنا فخامة الرئيس اللي بشكرك على إتاحة الفرصة دي إن أنا ألتقي بيك مرة تانية مجددا وبشكر فخامة الرئيس على كل الدعم اللي بتقدمه لمصر. شكرا جزيلا.
The smiles and the sweet talk concealed an embarrassment. According to the Washington Post, Egypt had been caught out buying banned North Korean rocket-propelled grenades, 20,000 of them hidden under a pile of iron ore covered by a tarpaulin and loaded on board a ship flying Cambodian colors. The ship was tracked, intercepted at the Suez Canal, and the illicit cargo found. The Washington Post report described North Korea as a global eBay for vintaged and refurbished Cold War-era weapons. These are offered at prices often lower than prevailing rates. The report said North Korea had developed considerable expertise in running such contraband in violation of sanctions, including use of false flag shipping and concealment of illegal cargo and bulk shipments of legitimate goods. The North has scores of arms factories making small arms, mortars, ammunition, even artillery, and small ships. The weapons are made under license from original equipment manufacturers in China and Russia who no longer make or service these weapons. The result? North Korea is able to supply customers in 4 continents, including insurgencies. The United Nations Security Council was all prepared to unveil a document on the North sanctions busting in February, but for some reason decided to withhold it. The report referred to North Korean missions abroad playing key roles in sales, procurement, finance, and logistics to facilitate sanctions busting. They even used bulk cash and gold transfers to get around official banking channels. In Malaysia, a company called Glocon or Global Communications and International Global Systems are listed by the UN. They function as fronts for Pan Systems Pyongyang, a North Korean company which procures and markets arms. It has an extensive network in Southeast Asia and the Arab world, and is backed by the Reconnaissance Global Bureau, the premier intelligence agencies. The sophistication of the network is evident in that in 2013, a ship was stopped in Panama, and a search turned up anti-aircraft missile systems and even MiG fighter jets. Clearly, as long as there are customers, there will be suppliers, and North Korea is one supplier who so far has remained a couple of steps ahead of the law. Bureau Report, WION.
And we're being joined by the person who broke this story, Joby Warwick, correspondent of the Washington Post. WION is reporting this with the Washington Post. Good evening, Joby. What really was North Korea's plan here? Is this to build allies or to make a profit?
You know, we see North Korea being willing to sell pretty much anything that'll create hard revenue, hard currency for it. And it could be anything from fake cigarettes to pharmaceuticals. This, it seems, is just one other product. In the past, North Korea was very serious in trying to build military-to-military relationships, and some of these sales are essentially legacies from that period. Now it's just all about raising money. They've got surplus stocks, they've got a potential market out there, and they're just trying to connect the two to make some cash.
Is this a major slap in the face for the U.S.? Its bluster has failed, its threat of sanctions has failed. Has this become an embarrassing ordeal?
Well, Egypt is one of the biggest recipients of U.S. military aid in the world, and that does make it a little bit of a touchy situation. It also explains why the U.S. handled this so quietly. No one publicly accused Egypt of doing anything wrong here. There was just some general suggestions that Egypt is doing some bad things with North Korea and it should knock it off. We saw some money being withheld that would normally go to Egypt. It's being delayed or in some cases frozen. So yeah, it's a cause of consternation, a lot of it behind the scenes, but this is something that American officials are a bit concerned about right now.
Joby Warwick, thanks very much for joining us. We will, in a bit, discuss how the American government might be divided on how to deal with North Korea. For the moment, we'll talk about Austria. Its ban on burqa has come into force, but women protesters have taken to the streets, calling the ministers and government Islamophobic after it banned the distribution of the Quran as well. Here's a report. Austria's controversial burqa ban has sparked protests in the capital, Vienna. Women wearing burqas and hijabs gathered in front of the country's parliament, protesting the ban. They described it as criminal and absurd.
Women should have the liberty to dress how they want. There are definitely many of them who do not have that freedom and who are being forced. But I still think that this can't be the answer.
What happened now additionally, because if this law would only target Muslims, it would be unconstitutional because it would be against religious freedom. Now it has been expanded to target all of us.
But law enforcement authorities are implementing the ban. Leaflets like these are being distributed by immigration officials, and those who refuse to take off their veils are not being allowed to enter Austria.
At the gate, we inform these people with leaflets in 4 languages that starting today, this anti-face veil law is in effect in Austria. At the border control, we tell the person again, and if she still refuses to take down her veil, we reject the person and she cannot enter Austria.
The controversial legislation was approved in May. The Austrian government says the law safeguards the country's values.
I believe in enlightenment, tolerance and liberality. In truth, what is happening here is a massive oppression of women. And with this background, I think it's right to say that there are limits. I think we've made our position clear. I'm absolutely at peace with myself about the burqa ban.
The burqa ban has been a political issue across Europe in recent times. France and Belgium banned the burqa in 2011. The Netherlands imposed a partial burqa ban in 2016. Germany too has been considering a similar move. But experts say the Austrian ban is a result of Islamophobia. The new law comes after the Austrian government banned the distribution of the Quran. An integration program was also launched, where refugees and immigrants were taught the German language and subjects like Austrian ethics. The government, though, has refused to accept any more refugees, calling for camps to be set up in North Africa for refugees who fled to Europe. The new law reflects a get-tough policy rooted in the government's broader security concerns. Bureau Report, WION. Now, is it a case of good cop, bad cop, or are there differences deep and growing deeper? It's another one of those conundrums preoccupying those who cover the Trump White House. Is Secretary of State Rex Tillerson on the same page as his president on foreign policy? Trump's latest tweet added grist to the mill. The tweet went thus: I told Rex Tillerson, our wonderful Secretary of State, that he is wasting his time trying to negotiate with little rocket man. Save your energy, Rex. We'll do what has to be done. It appeared Trump was responding to Tillerson, saying that the US and North Korea were in direct touch. He had done this earlier in August when Tillerson said that he did not believe there was, quote-unquote, any imminent threat from the North. The comments made to journalists on a flight from Malaysia to Guam. Moments later, Trump tweeted, and I'm quoting again, my first order as president was to renovate and modernize our nuclear arsenal. It is now far stronger and more powerful than ever before. Hopefully, we will never have to use this power, but there will never be a time that we are not the most powerful nation in the world. Tillerson interpreted that, saying that Trump said what he did because Kim Jong-un does not seem to understand diplomatic language. Also that Trump meant the U.S. would defend itself and its allies. Trump versus Tillerson is something that we've been seeing. Tillerson has done this many times since joining the Trump administration. He has massaged, in fact, every Trump statement on foreign policy. When Trump described NATO as obsolete, Tillerson assuaged all their concerns. When Tillerson asked that the blockade against Qatar be eased, Trump slammed Qatar as a funder of terrorism at a high level. Whether by compulsion or design, Tillerson has been on the same page as his boss on Iran. But the buzz since July is that Tillerson is frustrated with his president, has many and growing doubts about him, and could quit by the end of this year or even earlier. We'll have to wait and see. We're leaving you and wrapping up this edition of Gravitas with Gravitas Images, stories from across the world in pictures. Thanks very much for watching.